There's some beautiful back roads in Monterey County that have been off limits to visitors for a very long time.
There was a military presence here all the way since 1917, but it became a major base beginning in 1940 in preparation for World War II.
Fort Ord served as a training ground for troops in every conflict from World War II to Desert Storm. The base was closed in 1994. Now it's gradually being converted to civilian use. And many civilians, myself included, are discovering a previously hidden outdoor treasure. This gorgeous oasis here is called Mud Hen Lake. It's in the midst of Fort Ord, which really amazes and surprises me. And we're surrounded here by thousands and thousands of acres of wild open space.
There are over 80 miles of trails out here.
The trails are really tailored for equestrian, hiking, and mountain biking.
And there will soon be a brand new beach.
There's 4 miles that has essentially never been open to the public before.
Fort Ord is about 2 hours south of San Francisco. When it was in operation, it occupied a huge area just east of Monterey and just west of Salinas.
The entire base was about 28,000 acres, which is about 3,000 acres larger than the entire city of San Francisco.
Eric Morgan is the Fort Ord manager for the Federal Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. Eventually, more than half of the old base will be turned over to the BLM to be preserved as open space. Wow, Eric, this is really the top of the world here at Fort Ord.
This is a spectacular place. This is the former range area that the military operations had a system of about 47 ranges that fired in different locations. It's also the heart of where the most unique habitat type is on the base, is this really rare Central Coast maritime chaparral.
This spot, called Wildcat Ridge, is still controlled by the Army because it needs to undergo a costly cleanup process after decades of target practice. But Eric is taking me to an area that is open to the public, part of the more than 7,000 acres that have been turned over so far to the BLM.
This used to be a large road. It was about a 15-foot wide road.
The BLM is tearing up unneeded roads and replacing them with native plants. And they've gotten nearby school children involved in the restoration efforts.
My kids go to elementary school in Marina, and they've come out and planted plants, and they all want to see the plant that they planted. Sometimes it's hard to remember which one it is, but the biggest one,
the biggest one is theirs.
I'll always tell them it's the biggest one.
Some of the plants that thrive at Fort Ord are found almost nowhere else, such as the Toro manzanita.
About 90% of its known global distribution is here at Fort Ord.
Eric says that much of the time you can hike for miles out here without seeing another person, but not always. Every April, the serenity and solitude of Fort Ord is broken by the Sea Otter Classic. It's the largest mountain biking event in the world, and it's staged at nearby Laguna Seca Raceway.
When they're doing the cross-country race event, they're using the trail systems at the Fort Ord Public Lands, and they're spectacular trail systems.
Fort Ord is a popular destination for mountain bikers year-round.
I know every time I come out, it's a little something different.
Mountain biking enthusiast Jim Ryan is giving me a taste of the diversity out here.
Along here, we're riding near the lake, and everything's green, but a half a mile away, we could be up 1,000 feet in the oak forest and twisty-turny trails. It's great. There's something for everyone.
Jim patrols Fort Ord by bike as a volunteer for an organization called BETA.
It stands for Bicycle Equestrian Trails Assistance.
BETA promotes harmony among different trail users, provides information, and occasionally first aid. But today, Jim is just taking me for a ride along wide roads that are closed to automobiles and onto narrow dirt trails that test my riding skills.
Whoa, a little bit of Humpty Dumps here.
Hang on a minute.
And while we feel as though we're completely alone out here, we soon discover we're not the only ones making tracks.
Yeah, I think that's a mountain lion.
Wow, you
Yeah.
think that one is right there,
I
huh?
think so. I don't see any claw marks that a coyote would leave.
Wow.
We continue on, snaking around curves and climbing to an outcropping that reveals a tremendous view and makes it clear how mountain lions and humans can easily travel for miles without being seen.
Even you have a great playground out here.
It is great. It is great.
When the base closed, Fort Ord was carved up for different purposes. Part of it was used to create the Monterey Bay campus of the California State University system. Other sections were set aside for housing and commercial development. And there's even more open space, including the soon-to-come Fort Ord Dune State Park at the ocean's edge.
With the Fort Ord land open to the public, you'll literally be able to walk on the beach all the way from the city of Monterey, the wharf down there, all the way to Moss Landing. And that's about 16 miles.
Ken Gray oversees planning and resource management for California State Parks in the Monterey region. He's taking me down to a beach that's about to become accessible.
The surfers are already scouting out where the good surf breaks are.
The beach is only a half-mile from busy Highway 1 and nearby commercial activity.
But you can't see or hear that now, and you can really get a sense of solitude here. We're going to put a wooden boardwalk right out here, and then people will be able to just walk out here and get a view of the ocean from the bluff top.
This bluff used to hold Stillwell Hall, an enormous recreational facility for Fort Ord soldiers for more than 50 years.
It was a great site, you know, with ocean views, and it was a big dance hall. And supposedly the longest bar in California was in there about 90 feet long. And you'd have to think that a lot of those soldiers, especially during World War II, went off to fight the nation's wars, and they didn't come back. And so this is a very sentimental place for a lot of people, too.
Stillwell Hall may be gone, as are the 15 firing ranges that once filled the dunes. But there's still some evidence here of the former military presence.
This was called the ammo supply point, and for the entire 28,000-acre base at Fort Ord, this was the area where they stored their ammunition.
At first, this area will not be open to the public. Ken eventually hopes to turn one of the bunkers into a little museum, chronicling an era when the Army used this place to train soldiers for war.
In so doing, they preserved the open space character of this area, and now we're going to be able to preserve it as a state park forever.
And that goes for the rest of the vast public lands of Fort Ord as well. While protecting our country, the Army also happened to protect a wild landscape that we're only now starting to appreciate. For more information about Fort Ord public lands or Fort